Let's get some more reactions and expert views on the issue we're discussing right now.
We encourage young people to start coming into agriculture because we do understand that agriculture can no longer be as it used to be. People need to be aware of the fact that the new technology is currently evolving, on a daily basis, and to deploy those to maximum use to ensure that you also tap into those potentials that are available and resources and, use them to improve on agriculture. So we are working with different agencies, organizations to ensure that we tap into these initiatives and deploy them for the use of our people.
If you consider that we have good soil and we have it in abundance, there shouldn't be any scarcity of food items in Nigeria. But there is, unfortunately. And I think that's because over time we have neglected the area of agriculture. We have concentrated on some other areas. But if you look in the recent times, the government from the federal level and especially in Ogun State, we are redirecting and coming back to the basics.
All right, we can't really get enough of rice, so let's bring you even more statistics on this staple food of ours. Nigeria is Africa's leading consumer of rice, and the country is also the largest producer of rice in West Africa, and simultaneously one of the largest rice importers in the world.
What an irony. So let's take a look at states that produce rice in Nigeria. There are 8 in number, and they are Sokoto, Kebbi, Kano, Katsina, Niger, Kogi, Ogun, and Ebonyi. But these states are also faced with a few challenges. And let's look at some of those challenges.
Now, high input costs, which include the cost of importing mechanized farm implements. Other unattractive conditions include low technology base, decaying infrastructure, high interest rates, and corruption-ridden fertilizer distribution system. And so the question is, over the years, the distribution of fertilizers has remained dogged by fraud. Of course, we know that in the last administration, under the last administration, a lot was done in the area of fertilizer. It looked really good, but I wonder where all of that is right now under this, new dispensation.
Farmers, do they still have the phone to track the distribution of fertilizers?
Well, rather than seeing it as a problem, I want to see it as a challenge and a business opportunity. Why should we be importing fertilizer to this country? Why? We have a lot of things that we can use to really manufacture fertilizer. We keep on saying people have no job. You keep on looking for a job for our millions of graduates, that are produced from our university every year. So what we need to do is to even look deeper into even our curriculums in the schools. We produce people who can become entrepreneurs. People can look into opportunities instead of keep on complaining of saying, we don't have this, we don't have something. We want to really turn this problem into business opportunity.
Really, if you can, in your own mind, what is fertilizer and how can it be locally sourced? As simple, as basic as it is.
Okay.
As basic as that question is, really, can it be locally sourced? Can it just be? Because I watched a documentary, and can you just please?
You have lumped so many questions to one, and I will try to separate and answer all the questions for everybody to really understand. So what is fertilizer? Okay, we have, for example, the natural fertilizer as an example, they are manuals. We have the dung from our poultry waste that we now turn into fertilizers to produce maize on our farm. And when you see maize in our farm now, you see that they are quite natural, they are quite bigger, they are even the one you use artificial fertilizer to produce. And you see that when you use artificial fertilizer, it has a lot of other things. I don't want to go to technicalities. That when you get some of these fruits and vegetables from the artificial fertilizer, you see that they cannot last much when you compare with those ones that you get. And also you see they talk about, us moving towards organic food. So I've succeeded in enhancing what fertilizer is. Then We now look into
fertilizer is a growth enhancement.
It's a growth enhancement. It's a manual. That's something that will now produce what the plants require to be able to. It's like human beings who require a lot of vitamins, minerals, to function properly. These are no foods. These are embedded in vegetables and fruits. But
so how do we solve? Because basically this question is for our viewers. So we understand. When you understand, unravel the myth behind this, you realize it's not such a big deal after all.
I'm saying now that I think I've succeeded in answering the question, what is fertilizer? How do we now source for fertilizer? Here we have organic fertilizer. Here we have inorganic fertilizer. Most of the inorganic fertilizer are imported to this country. But I'm saying that it will be another source of business for Nigeria. So that you are talking of youth unemployment, you are talking of, agric growth and the like, so that we can even improve our GDP.
So
why should we not?
The potentials for agriculture are quite enormous. That's my reading of all of this.
Is the solution
in
to
addition to what the World Bank already has said, that agriculture has 4 times the capacity to end poverty than any other policy that any government anywhere can actually, apply.
After
so,
all,
which means
70s,
if
it was
if
70% of the GDP in Nigeria, sir.
Our comparative and competitive edge is in agric. Agric is so basic that virtually everybody can be engaged in agric. Virtually everybody. Instead of carrying your paper looking for a job that's nowhere, why would government not do the needful to encourage and see that those people are looking for a job?
Perhaps production of fertilizers, for instance. That means it doesn't cost much to start it. No. That's what we're trying to even get to, really. So we understand how you can
rather
start
than
the production.
importing the NPK and all the rest
why
of
will
them.
Why will not be able to encourage cooperative and let government now encourage them? They can even kickstart the thing after that one. They can now withdraw and allow the thing now to take off as a business on its own. So instead of keep on looking, because what really destroyed the economy of this country is our whole industry, where it have very little to offer in terms of employment, and it produce the largest income all of us depend on, and that's where everybody keep on looking for jobs.
That's why we're in trouble now.
Nigeria's annual consumption requirement of 5 million metric tons, substantially higher than domestic supply, estimated at 3 million metric tons. Let's look at other countries that have recorded great success in rice production.
India, Thailand, and United States of America are the largest producers of this staple food in the world, and they make so much from exporting the product to countries like Nigeria. Statistics revealed that in 2010, the country imported 2.4 million metric tons. In 2011, the nation also imported 3.2 million tons, 2.8 million tons in 2012, 2.8 million tons in 2013, 3.5 million tons in 2014, and 2.5 million tons in 2015.
All right. So rice is one of Nigeria's staple foods. Do you think we can achieve self-sufficiency in rice production?
Especially as this government targets 2018.
2018.
I'm wondering how realistic
we can achieve that one.
By 2018?
We can.
Or even before 2018?
We
can
achieve that?
Because look at it. This amount of money that go into other countries' economy, that is, if we now implement importation substitution, but allow that thing out to be here and be used to really produce, we can. But like I keep on saying, the government need to really understand the fundamental issue. Why are people not in this business? Because whatever will bring money to people, you don't have to really encourage them to go into it. Money making venture is such that on its own, he invite people in. Wherever you see bank rushing into, certainly there's money there.
Quick money, perhaps.
Quick money there.
It's amazing. I mean, let me even just make you look at this a bit. I was talking to an 8-year-old boy.
Okay.
And I said, what do you want to be in future? And he said, I want to be a lawyer, and I want to be this, I want to be a doctor. I said, really? Why don't you want to be a farmer? I said, no. No, God forbid.
Okay.
I had to educate that little boy, 8-year-old.
Okay.
And he looked at me again and was like, oh, really? You mean I can actually become a millionaire? An 8-year-old is already thinking, you know, about making so much money. So, are we doing enough in really educating
The
these young
richest people in U.S., they are farmers.
Farmers.
You see people have millions of hectares. I'm not talking of acres. I'm talking of hectares. Whenever they want to spray, they have to engage helicopters. Some of them even use small plane to do spraying. They fly.
Because of the vastness
But
of...
you can see the final cancer. So if these young ones are able to see the farmers, they are no longer seeing farmers as that hoodman in the village.
Not Agbe.
Not Agbe, who have nothing to offer.
Okay.
Somebody so haggard who cannot feed himself. That's the picture we are giving to our youth about farming, about farmers. And until that picture, vanish
Changes.
off, I'm afraid we can't do much about agric.
Okay, talking about a picture and taste, perhaps Nigerians don't have taste for or appetite for a locally produced rice. Between imported rice and locally produced rice, most Nigerians will go for the imported ones. How do you change the taste buds of Nigeria?
Okay, let's look at it this way. It is about the quality. It's about the quality. We call Nigerian rice, oh God.
Oh God.
You know what that one means?
No.
Okay, oh God means whenever you are chopping the thing,
The
and
stones
you run to stones, and oh God. When you get the imported one that's been polished, remove all stock and something, you just want quick and something, put it inside water, 5-10 minutes, you get your rice and it's done. But mind you, the imported rice is not as nutritious as the Nigerian rice. So what we need to do is to encourage, people will now process Nigerian rice so that we move away from oh God into acceptable quality. We talked about standard the other time, and I told you that the world is not a single village. The standard is no respect of location.
Everywhere.
It's not respect of location, it's not respect of geography, geographical location, anything. Your nation, no. You have to really get things done in the best way that are being acceptable all over the world.
Okay, so let's move on to other agricultural produce, cassava. I mean, that is my all-time favorite.
Right.
Nigeria is the largest producer of cassava in the world, with about 50 million metric tons annually from a cultivated area of about 3.7 million hectares. Nigeria accounts for cassava production of up to 20% of the world, about 34% of Africa's, and about 46% of West Africa's production. It's amazing. And, to know that the Chinese are already taking advantage of our cassava. They're coming here, picking our cassava and going back and, turning it into all kinds of things, cassava
There
flakes.
was even some relaxation on their waivers and duties on cassava production during former President Olusegun Obasanjo's regime. And many experts expected Nigeria to cash in on that, but that really didn't happen.
During Baba's regime, it was a lot of pronouncement about export potential from cassava and all its derivatives. But like I keep on saying, if it really turned out to be business, everybody will be there. But because it failed, it fell flat. That's why you are now asking. Because when you talk of business, it's not about telling somebody to go and do this. Business is about getting returns for your effort and investment. Anything that is not bringing returns for your effort and investment, whatever anybody says is being said on paper. So now, maybe now that we are having another foreign exchange regime, maybe situation may change. Maybe it could change. But before, I was in China and I discovered that what China was willing to offer there, I think that was 2015, was willing to offer, and the local price there, it's a serious discouragement. That's why you discover that a good number of people who rush into cassava production with the intention of going to export were not able to really do so.
Okay.
So government need to really do a lot of, for example now, once you finish with your cassava production, you want to turn them to so lot of chips, pellets, or so many things you can turn them into.
Even cassava gari.
Cassava gari. But now, the question is, do you have the infrastructure? The infrastructure that you have there, can it compete? I was with some of these people, I was trying to really encourage them to come to Nigeria and partner with us in adding value to this agri-produce. The man said no, he won't come because we have no infrastructure to support the production. So government have a lot of things to do.
Indeed.
In this area.
Okay, let's bring in another perspective. We have Anthony Egba on the line from Edo State, if I'm correct, to talk to us about agriculture. Delta, as a matter of fact, is an agriculturist. Good morning to you and thanks for joining us. Help us to, clarify what we're discussing here. We're just weighing on it. We're looking at cassava. Of course, we've talked about rice and how much it's costing Nigeria to import rice, especially considering the fact that we actually grow rice here.
We are foreign, very scarce foreign reserves these days to import
rice. I mean, we've spent some $8.8 billion in 10 years on rice alone. Weighing on this.
Yeah. Hello?
Yes, go ahead, please, if you heard my question.
I believe, actually, if I must be sincere with you, cassava is the food for 21st century. Cassava is the food security for Africa. If not for cassava, there would have been famine in the land, in the whole of Africa. Because cassava is one of the crops that is one of the easiest crops to grow. You can grow in almost everywhere in Nigeria, in Africa. And then again, cassava is one of the food that you can have around the year. It's not seasonal. Once you grow it, you can have it for the 12 months. You can always harvest cassava and eat. This crop is a very good crop, but it needs to be developed further so that it not serve only as food security, but for industrial security too, because cassava has a lot of uses that can really industrialize Africa.
Yeah, but how can we make it into a product for export? Like Ngozi mentioned earlier, that China is cashing in on this. Why is Nigeria not cashing in on this?
Yes. Well, for example, now I'm a commercial cassava farmer. I grow cassava in large quantity. And presently, we have most of the starch company in Nigeria as our customer who are currently coming to our farm in Africa to buy cassava. And but here, if you really want to turn it into a competitive crop, you have to really develop the infrastructure, like one of the speakers is saying, in such a way that the mechanization has to really be improved in order to produce it in large quantities. Yes, I hear a lot of people saying Nigeria is the largest producer of cassava. That is true. But we must not forget that Nigeria is the largest consumer of cassava as food products too. So, in substantial level, every farmer has his own cassava that he grows and eats as food and sell into the open market.
So we are just producing enough for our own consumption. Is that what you're saying?
Hello?
So we are just producing enough for our own consumption here. Is that what you're saying?
Consumption. So, and presently, because the way we are producing it, our price is not competitive enough. So, for example, if you consider the distance of Thailand to China is maybe 2 or 3 days, you will get there on water. If you want to do that in Nigeria, maybe 4 weeks you are still in your waterway. The cost of transportation is high, and even our productivity as of now is still low compared to what you get in Brazil, Thailand, and even Indonesia. And productivity is very low. And cassava is one of the crops that has potential that can even get up to 50, 60 tons per hectare if all your CAP practices is in order.
Are we at risk of, suffering what we did in the hands of Malaysians who came here to, take our oil palm or palm fruits? And now we're actually importing from, Malaysia, as I hear, we're importing palm oil. With cassava, is that likely to happen if the Chinese actually move into this area?
It's cool. If China is not taking it, by the time you know it, you start importing cassava flour from China, from Thailand, from Indonesia, because if their productivity is higher than your own, then the cost of production there will be cheaper. And then they will look for a place to come and dump it. It's cool. So we really have to develop our own agriculture in such a way that the cost to produce 1 ton of cassava will become so cheap that you can afford to sell a ton of raw cassava for 3,000 naira. But for now, a ton of cassava, even from our farm here, could go as far as 15,000. And if you really want to buy from small farmers, because presently the gari is becoming very, very expensive now.
Now, for you as a cassava farmer, talk to us very quickly before we move on to other areas of agricultural produce. What is the biggest challenge that you face, from farming to, all the other levels that, cassava goes through before it gets to my table, as whether gari, jabu, or, whatever else?
As a commercial farmer, the biggest challenge I face now is appropriate equipment. We don't have tractors. The tractor performance in Nigeria is very low. And even the kind of tractor we have is not the right kind of tractor. We have what I call toy tractors. The Pakistan FBF, that it will not even be enough to give you enough horsepower to farm you. For example, this morning, I'm even in dear need of 110 horsepower John HP. 110 minimum John Deere tractors now. So carry some of my equipment like my loading house and the harvester. I even need you discover that mechanization is something that we really need institutions to support. Because without actually really good mechanization, not only cassava, we cannot really have agricultural revolution in this country. Okay. Agriculture has passed the issue of hoe and cutlasses of smallholders.
I've always wondered why Nigerians wouldn't eat
mechanization
cassava
is a challenge
bread.
to every farmer now.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Egba, just hold on, okay? Hold on for us.
Busolam
is trying to find out why we're not buying into this whole cassava bread.
Would you eat cassava bread?
I would. For me, eating is really not about taste and all of that, but the nutritional value that it gives to me, and that is what I think every Nigerian really should begin to look at.
Because you before the camera. Outside here, would you eat cassava
absolutely.
bread?
I've tasted cassava bread and
really?
It tastes really good.
Okay,
yes,
good.
And ofada rice or abakaliki rice and all of that. These are healthy stuff.
And did
we
you
need
say,
to
oh
teach.
God, why you?
No, I didn't say oh God. Okay, so grazing. Let's move on to that now. Grazing reserves are tracts of land specially set aside by governments for use by farmers to hold and graze their cattle. The establishment of grazing reserves is, however, not the brainchild of this administration.
Nigeria tried the concept as far back as the pre-colonial era. Now the federal government and some officials have suggested the creation of grazing reserves across the country as an end to incessant violence between herdsmen and farmers. But that suggestion was met with stiff resistance, and most of them suggested the setting up of cattle ranches. But let's take it a notch further.
Modern practice in North and South America, Australia and Europe is to raise cattle in ranches where grazing pasture and other dietary requirements are planted for the consumption of animals. The federal government has set aside 940 million naira to be spent on grazing reserves across the country, despite growing opposition to its establishment. We understand that 11 states have donated 5,000 hectares of land each for the implementation of the federal government's program on grazing reserves.
And the states include Adamawa, Gombe, Plateau, Kaduna, Katsina, Kano, Taraba, Niger, Sokoto, Jigawa, and the Federal Capital Territory, FCT.
Now, some of the countries that practice the zero grazing method in Africa are Kenya, Uganda, South Africa, Tanzania, Malawi, and so we ask, setting up grazing reserves, well, really, beyond, setting up of all of this, when this whole herdsmen and farmers crisis started, and then, gradually we started hearing about grazing reserves and all of that. Not a few Nigerians are concerned about the consequences, of grazing lands for herdsmen. The question, the soundness in that decision. Let's still stay with Anthony Egba. You are an agriculturist. What do you think about? Okay, unfortunately, we've lost contact with him. Right. We hope we can reestablish. What do you think about these grazing reserves? I mean, we're told in places like Kenya it's working.
It will be a very lovely one. But the time it's been introduced it has already allowed political dimension to it. You will say that all the states that agree to really give land for this particular program, they are in the north. And the southern MC of the state, of the nation, vehemently oppose and say no, they will not allow the thing to go. In fact, there are some states that really go to the extent and say, well, if they see any herdsman that move around that place, it should be hacked down. So the time is being introduced with the kind of terrorist tendency from these herdsmen. It really creates a problem. I think timing is an issue in the matter. Otherwise, it would have been very lovely idea.
And the federal government said they've been able to secure 5,000 hectares of arable land in 12 River Basin Development Authority, and they intend to use 22 dams in the area of irrigation. Do you think if this happens, that the part of the divide, where the northern area where people complain of lack of water, that lack of nutritious grass for the cattle, do you think that might just help the problems?
Oh, well, I hope it will. I hope it will. If it's properly implemented, I hope it will.
And in line with that, I mean, there's been a lot of talk about importation of this quality grass, which the Minister of Agriculture has been talking about. I wish we could have him on the show. He was built to be on the show, but unfortunately, he's not on the show this morning. It's a question that one would have loved for him to answer. What's your thought on this importation of grass, which it says will multiply the production level of these cows?
Well, since I don't have technical information about the grass they want to really import to the country, I may not be able to really comment much about it. But I hope they have done their homework properly before they settle for that kind of importation. Because anything vegetation has its own natural habitats where I want to really grow and things of that nature.
All right.
And that is one. Then two, hope is not going to really be part of those GMOs, those
genetically modified foods.
That will really create another problem for us. Because
perhaps for the cattle. And okay, so we have Anthony Egba back quickly just before we let you go. Your thoughts on the issue of grazing reserves? Some have suggested private ranches, perhaps. Do you buy into that?
Hello?
Yeah, Mr. Egba, would you prefer grazing reserves or private ranches for the cattle?
Yeah, this is an issue you have to look at critically. I was in Brazil a few months ago. Every farm is fenced. If you are keeping cow, you keep your cow there, you fence it, you take care of your cow. If you are planting cassava, you plant your cassava, you fence it, you take care of your cassava. Business is business. But then we must understand that the cultural background of the grazing in Africa is a way of life. So we just have to balance the two, because there are nomadic Fulani who the way of life is just moving about with their animals. In that case, where you have to think about the part that they will not destroy my farm. Then there are others who are really doing the rearing of the cow as business. But they are trying in Nigeria, they discover that they have not got the logistics of turning it as business and making it profitable, keeping their cow in one spot. So these are the issues that we have to look critically and balance. And then if you are just coming down to pick my land that I have to use to farm and say, okay, you want to use the law to take it for grazing reserve, this is going to create a lot of communal problems too. So we have to really balance this issue very well.
So what kind of balance are we talking about? How do we achieve this balance, and so that this mutual suspicion, as it were, would not be the case?
Yeah. Well, the balance I'm talking about here is that we have to consider those who are the Fulani, who are the way of life. You cannot just keep them in one spot and say, okay, we are just restricting you to this place. And then we just have to do this with the education that, okay, because before this thing become a menace, if you know, there are, for example, I finished harvesting a certain area in my farm now. If you put your cow and you are eating the area that I harvested, there is no problem. These animals too, I think the fault is those who are following them. They understand control. It's just sheer wickedness out of some of the people who now set loose to each of them. I've seen a lot of Fulanis passing through my farm here, and the cows are obeying the Fulani. So I think education has to come in now to that. You have your own business, I have my own business. You cannot use your own business to ruin my own business. We can live together. But it's just in a case whereby now one of them just decide, okay, because you are not in the farm, it comes in the night and eat up your farm like in the midnight night. This becomes a great issue.
Okay, Anthony Egba from Delta State, an agriculturist, better put, a farmer, and of course, Biodun Oladapo of Comrade Farms. It's been nice talking with you gentlemen on this very, all-important issue, agriculture. If we really mean to diversify the economy, then we really need to do more than paying lip service to it. That's what we've gotten from this discussion this morning. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity also to come.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
And on that note, that's how we actually roll this Friday morning on TVC Breakfast. It's been nice being here. We look forward to having you join us again next week. Yes, it's been a day of agriculture. Maybe it's time for you to begin to actually talk to those kids that agriculture may just be the way to go. Busolami, what do you think?
Okay, we'll talk about that after this show, really. But don't forget, we also had with us the people advocating for the rights of the disabled children in Nigeria. Don't forget, they need love, they need to be treated well.
Absolutely.
That's the message this morning.
Indeed. And think about all of that this weekend. Have a great one. I am Ngozi Alebu.
And Busolami Tuashi. I'll see you on Monday.